I'm Breez Daniels, and I am currently at the high school as a high school principal. But my prior 8 years in the district, I was at Thermopolis Middle School, and it's a 5th through 8th grade middle school. And then 3 years ago, the board superintendent asked me to be the 5th through 12th grade principal. So I had dual duties with an assistant principal for the last 3 years. But in the last few months, I've just transitioned to be just at the high school. We found a good fit for the middle school principal position, and I've transitioned there. While I was at the middle school, we were a huge fan of all the growth mindset research and everything that's encompassed in that, and had done quite a few book studies on growth mindset. We've done a growth mindset curriculum with our 5th graders and some pieces like that. And so I feel really comfortable with that, with all of those pieces. We had good success with that at the middle school level. We were named a professional learning community, a model school in 2016-17. We had to let go of some of our essential learnings. We weren't able to sustain the achievement level or the academic rigor that we normally would have had throughout the month of April. We had to start making decisions on what we were going to let go of and really shift our focus to retaining prior learning, swinging back and picking up essential learnings that had happened throughout the year and ensuring our kids felt confident with that learning, that they were retaining it, that they weren't losing ground over the break or during the shutdown. And so we just kind of had to circle back and say, okay, what was essential this year that we could really firm up? And I think that one of our beliefs and values in doing that was that everything we try to do in our schools for all students, if it's an essential learning, it's essential for everyone. And we didn't feel like we could sustain essential new learning that was intended to be face-to-face, in person. We didn't have that type of instruction planned. And so we had to let go of some of those pieces. And I just really had to talk to my staff a lot about, we run a pretty tight ship, but we can't run the same tight ship right now. And we have to kind of give ourselves some grace and give our students some grace. And what can we do that will make our students feel successful even though they're not with us? And so trying to kind of get everybody to shift their focus from, we were geared up for that last big push, that mid-March to first week of May, solid academic push that we really go for before we get into our spring testing cycle and all of those things. ACT was coming down the pike for our juniors. And so we had to just really shift from, okay, this is usually some of our heavy hitting time of year for student learning. And now let's pull back and reevaluate what can we really guarantee all students can feel some success with from here till the end of the school year. And that really made us reprioritize what we were going to focus on, what we were going to ask students to do, and could they do it independently? That was the big question, is could they do something? Could we give videos as instructional tools, use that flipped classroom model? We're going to give you the instructional piece through either research or writings or literature or a video from maybe Khan Academy or some other resource. And then we're going to have our meetings with you, our Google meetings or our Zoom meetings. We're going to have those meetings to answer questions and find out where the learning is stuck, look for those challenges within the learning unit. And so we really just had to regroup, reevaluate, reprioritize, and focus on students having some feeling of, number one, we're glad you're tuning in. We're glad to see you, glad that you're putting in some effort, glad you're making time for school. And then the other piece just being, we want to be able to give them some sort of positive feedback if they're engaging with us. And so we really shifted that idea from, during the school year, we're really tight on scores skills equal scores, right?
Mm-hmm.
Skills equal scores. You're going to show us what you know, and we're going to use some sort of proficiency scale to measure that learning, and then your score is going to be reflective of where your learning is right now, so that we can help you with that. So we can do some reteaching, do some reassessing. Everything we do is basically formative within that growth mindset. Everything is formative. And so if it's happening in the classroom, it should be formative. And so we had to really adjust from skills equals scores to effort equals feedback. And I think that shift was one that we had to spend a couple of weeks wrapping our mind around, because we are really, really tight on that. And so what does effort equal feedback look like? And just sharing out some articles with the teachers, and what feedback isn't necessarily going to equal a grade in the grade book. It's not going to necessarily equal an assessment. It may be some sort of demonstration of learning that makes you as a teacher feel confident that students are moving forward. And so I think that's a piece of what we've done that will hopefully carry into the future. I hope that we should always be good at giving feedback as educators. That should always be a priority. And I feel like this has been a time for us to hone those skills, to become better at giving feedback.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So how was the transition for the teachers in adjusting to this new framework?
I feel like everybody was super flexible. The teachers were amazing, super flexible, adapted. We're making this huge shift in philosophy on the fly. Everything that was tight is now loose. Everything that loose is now tight. We're making all these big shifts, and I felt like they were okay with it. Like, okay, I'll try this. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. But I think one thing that has been super important is that we have to treat every student individually. We can't have a group mindset like this class is doing poorly, or we can't just say this class period is failing because only a few students are showing up for the Google Class Meet. We have to instead say, okay, let's look at these individual students. What are the individual challenges that we're facing with them? And then where do we meet students on an individual basis? How do we get them to engage, or how do we give them some grace? Or how do we give them some feedback like, hey, we really appreciate you. You're really doing all this stuff we're asking you to do all by yourself. And so I think we just had to switch from a group mindset of I see all these kids as a unit to, okay, I'm gonna have to individually meet up and plan for kids that are kind of in different places all of a sudden.
Yeah, I was so impressed with the student engagement. First the survey results, but then the way that you were tracking how students were being engaged within the classroom on an individual basis. I'd love if you could walk me through, one, how you came up with that idea, and then two, what that looks like, because I'm imagining it's really challenging for every single student, in every single period, how engaged they were.
Right. So I'm looking at my document right now.
Yeah.
And basically what we did is just the state of Wyoming gave us a tracking key, and it was the numbers, and I shared that key with you. That was the numbers 1 through 6. And they said they wanted us to know how students were engaged during the school closure, and this was right from the beginning. And they wanted us to be able to basically say the students were doing these 6 types of things. I added 7 and 8 because I just felt like those were key things that were happening. Just refusal, flat out, I'm not going to do, I'm home. Go away, teacher, you can't. That whole just kids distancing themselves from school, and the fact that I really wanted my teachers to know that I wasn't going to hold them accountable for something they had no control over. When kids are with us, we have a lot of ways we can influence them. We have a lot of ways to celebrate what they do. We have a lot of ways to give them positive feedback and positive communication, but we also have levers. We have lunchtime interventions, and we have Friday school. And, we have a lot of levers that help us encourage students to engage with their learning. And we don't have any control over that now. Mm-hmm. So we added 7, just that overall refusal. And I felt like that was a way for me to give my teachers permission to say, this is a student that right now school is not their priority for them or their family. Could be due to illness. Obviously, that's why we're all home. It could be due to economic factors. Could be due to stress in the home. There's so many things. So I just wanted my teachers to have permission to give a student a 7. It doesn't mean we won't follow back up. Doesn't mean we've given up. Just means right now this isn't working. And then 8 was just those at-risk factors that we knew something. We knew the student was communicating with us enough for us to know there was something specific happening in the home that we needed to back off. And so an 8 just told us back away. Like, there's other things going on here. And so that was our key. And then I shared with you kind of a snapshot of how the teachers recorded that. And they didn't have to record daily, but I did ask them to record at least weekly. Okay. And you see the 6 class periods. And so those are their 6 teachers that they get grades from, each student. And then the teacher was supposed to give at least a weekly, score. And so we've continued that on into May, and we'll continue it through to the last day of school. And I feel like, I actually feel like it's giving me more insight into what kids are doing than normal grades would. Mm-hmm. And I definitely have thoughts about how to continue something like this into next school year, because I open this up and I have a lot better understanding of what's going on with a student than I do by seeing the traditional grade book. So it's more about effort, work ethic, and growth mindset. Like, are they engaging and showing willingness to learn?
Yeah, and it's so impressive. And like you said, it gives you so much more information about what the student's kind of doing and how they're interacting with the material than just a grade would, which is so interesting.
I definitely know all of my students. I know them by name because of our 200 students, and I've had them most of them in grade. So I know them really well. And I would say the most positive feedback I've had are from more of our introverted students. Our students that kind of keep to themselves anyway during the school day, or are quieter, even if they have a nice friendship group, they might just be quieter types of students. They're not the ones who raise their hand and want to do a class presentation, or necessarily even want to be noticed in the classroom. And I've had quite a few teachers talk about individual students that fit that profile, that they say they feel like they're thriving in all of this, that they're willing to reach out and have like one-on-one, and I don't really call it tutoring, but like help sessions, because we're making that widely available. If you want help, just let me know and I'll meet up with you and we'll work through it one-on-one. And I feel like those students are showing a lot of initiative and just positivity. They're willing to kind of give that extra effort to an assignment and figure it out themselves, maybe watch an instructional video more than once, those types of things. And so I feel like that has went really well. As far as students that are facing challenges, I kind of see that, and I've talked to my teachers about this in more than one way. Some of the challenges our students are facing are positive. Their parent wants them to go on the construction site with them and earn money, that's a positive challenge. They're being productive, their family's doing well, and staying on track economically. We have agriculture kids in our community, kids that right now is branding season. And so you're gathering cattle, you're having your community brandings, all of those things. And so I know we've had a lot of students participate in things like that around livestock. And we've really tried not to discourage that. We actually had a teacher say that a student zoomed in for a class session on horseback trailing cattle. And the teacher's like, you know, you could go ahead and shut your phone off. This probably isn't going to be helpful to your learning, or it is going to be a little bit of a distraction to the class. But I do think it's, you know, it's kind of fun. But so we've really have those kind of challenges where we feel like the kids are doing good, positive things that we would not want to discourage. And if they had a priority list, you know, those things would be up here, and education maybe would be right here. And I feel like in those instances, we kind of had to let go a little bit. Get done, show us what you know, do as much as you can. We're happy to see you when you tune in. And we've kind of let go of some of that. And then we have other students that are just enduring some hardship, and we're trying to support them in other ways. We have a great food program. Our backpack program is a food program to get stuff out into the community. And we've delivered tons of food to families. And if students are enduring some sort of hardship, we're just trying to be supportive. And we've really just tried to steer away from anything that portrays school as being we're out to catch you not doing your work, or, you know, if we see them downtown, we're just glad to see them. We don't say, why aren't you at home doing your schoolwork? You know, we're also downtown or whatever. You know, we might maybe run into them at the grocery store or at the pharmacy or something like that. So we've just really been trying not to catch students not working.